Something horrible is happening in Morefolk. By Icy Dice. You know who this is. Sorry for the long wait, and thank you for your patience. Yes, this is the new email address, though the reason for that should be obvious. I have to hand it to the pigs. They're not as clueless as I believed. What I once thought were monkeys dressed in uniform flinging crap at the wall are actual monkeys using rudimentary tools to fling crap at the wall. I'll admit it's cute. Still, if Morefolk's finest thought that updating their firewalls, naming their files gibberish, and using mono-alphabetical substitution ciphers for their file text was enough to throw me off, they're sorely mistaken. For one, firewalls aren't as effective when I've left a backdoor in the system for free access. Seriously, it's not that difficult to get into something once you've already been inside before. Not to mention, you seriously thought that documenting stuff in some basic code would do the trick? That I wouldn't be able to convert it to plain text? At least do something a little sophisticated next time. Might I recommend studying some old telegrams from wartime and seeing how they did things? Seriously, your tech department should be paying me for the tutelage. Your cryptography is weak. The only thing I can give you credit for is that I haven't found any information on the unnamed agency referenced in your files. I assume their documents are catalogued in their own, entirely separate database, which isn't surprising. Still, the only reason another agency would be involved with you at all would be to order you around behind the scenes, like a bunch of lackeys you are. Regardless, that has no bearing on whether you can keep me out of your shit. I suspect you'll either throw out the system and start anew, or the more likely approach you'll take is to start cataloguing your documents in analog style. Don't know, don't care. I've already got enough as it is. To say that I've got a lot to drop on you all would be an understatement, and a severe one at that. Not everything is going to be shown right here and now, but in time all will be clear. I've been waiting patiently, meticulously crafting my strategy, waiting for the perfect moment to reappear. Such is the price of truth in a world run by breaking news and hastily woven narratives. There are always dozens, hundreds, even thousands of hands intricately drawing each needle through each thread, until a net of lies and misrepresentations have been constructed and cast. Cast upon what? You all the helpless fish adrift at sea, going where the tide takes you. Yet you are not helpless. There is a hand outstretched towards you, and it is my hand. I offer you access to the one thing more valuable than money or the security they try to bribe you with. I offer you access to reality. Reality is, regardless of who witnesses it. Therefore, the optimal way to deny one access to reality is to remove their ability to witness, to see, to observe, and to ogle the beautiful essence of truth. Think for a moment about what it is that best achieves the goal of restricting your perception of reality. What it is that is such an obfuscation, such as an obstruction, and such a danger. I'll tell you. It's the narratives. The news, the media, and the outlets all serve as distractions. Do not be so naive as to think that the news is on your side. They actively serve the interests of the authorities and their agendas, and once you become privy to that fact, it's obvious. Still, you might find my claims to be dubious. So let's take a look together, shall we? Allow me to show you precisely what I'm talking about. Ellie Singleton, 33, found deceased in home. The body of Ellie Singleton, 33, was found unresponsive in her home on Monday, January 23rd, 2023. Authorities arrived on the scene shortly after her husband, Barry Singleton, reported an incident that occurred that Monday night, around 4:47 a.m. Although emergency services were quick to the scene, she was regrettably announced dead upon arrival at Morefolk Town Hospital at 5:09 a.m. Detective Clark Casper, who arrived at the scene shortly following the incident, declined to comment. So too did Barry Singleton. Although the nature of this incident remains highly unknown, its impact on our community is not lost on anyone. Plenty of tears were shed among friends, family, and loved ones, who all shared their sympathies with Mr. Singleton. Ellie Singleton was expected to deliver her first child in the summer of this year. She very much had a love for children, and it wasn't uncommon for her to work as a substitute teacher at Morefolk Elementary. Many of the young students she taught and influenced took part in laying down flowers and paying their respects at the school, which hosted a memorial assembly in her honor. Ellie stood as a pillar of this community, doing what she could to ensure the future generations had a reliable shoulder to lean on. Now our community stands as one, hearts torn apart for the Singleton family. This will surely be a day of much mourning and prayer. Innocent enough, right? Just a heartfelt news clipping in response to a horrific happening. A good old unifier of the people to get them through a trying time. Aside from that, there's not much to go off. Granted, this was the first that we know to be murders. Let's continue. Tragedy strikes as 25-year-old Sasha Baker was found dead in her bedroom. Onlookers littered the streets as Sasha Baker, 25, was peacefully wheeled out of her home the other night on Saturday, January 29th, 2013. Mothers, fathers, and children held hands in solemn silence as they watched, burdened with the great loss of their friend. It just doesn't make sense. She was young and healthy and happy. I can't even wrap my head around it, said Chuck Rivera, a longtime friend of Sasha Baker. This kind of thing doesn't happen in this town. It just doesn't, commented Ashley Sanchez, who was so disturbed by the death that she had to be comforted by those around her. Morefolk police released a brief statement following the occurrence, with Sheriff Tom Mackey being quoted as saying, "We want you to know that our hearts are heavy, and this loss is weighing down on us all of us. Sasha was a great woman. From the food pantries she hosted inside the church, to all the service work she did for our town. She always served as a positive influence on our youth. To us, she was a family, a bright and optimistic woman we grew up alongside. Our thoughts and prayers go out to David Baker, and to any and all who are undoubtedly hurting at this time. We will be conducting an investigation into this incident, absolutely. I cannot confirm anything to you with certainty, but we have reason to believe that, well, this incident may have been the product of foul play. The chances of that being the case are low. Still, our officers are working diligently to ensure that this was not the cause of her death, because that, well, it would be heart-wrenching for us all, even more than it is already. We'll do what we can to keep all of you updated. Thank you for your time, and God bless you." At this time, it is unspecified whether this event has any relation to the death of the late Ellie Singleton, who was found deceased in her home just a week prior. Would you look at that? Do you know what I see? Useless fucking platitudes. Thoughts and prayers don't mean shit to us. Not to mention how vague Sheriff Mackey was about this supposed investigation they were hosting. They peacefully wheeled her body out of her home. Perhaps it appeared that way with several white cloths and EMTs blocking the view of her corpse. I'm not entirely sure how the word peaceful could be applied to the remains of a woman who had her unborn child violently ripped out. nor am I sure how there could be any ambiguity as to whether she was murdered or not. Now you go ahead and wonder why it is that they're using such passive and evasive language. Something tells me that you already know the answer. Homicide investigation launched following the murder of Claire Summers. Town officials have confirmed that Morefolk police are investigating the untimely death of Claire Summers, 28, which occurred on Wednesday, February 2nd, 2023 as a homicide. We are deeply disturbed by the passing of Claire Summers. The shock and sadness we are all going through cannot be understated. This is not an easy time for anybody, stated Sheriff Mackey, when asked for a comment about the recent development. Our investigators' assessment of her death indicates to us that, regrettably, this was the result of a sick individual rather than a horrible accident or medical issue, continued Mackey. This revelation also came with an announcement from town officials that a curfew has been set in place. All citizens are to stay indoors after 9:30 p.m., and all exceptions must be preemptively requested. Failure to abide by this regulation will be met with detainment, and offending persons may face criminal charges. The investigation into Claire Summers' murder will incorporate the recently deceased citizens of Morefolk, Ellie Singleton, Sasha Baker, as police suspect those incidents may be related to this one. As of this moment, Kyle Summers has declined to comment. Claire Summers, perhaps most well known for her bakery located on Oak Way, will be remembered as sweetly as the goods she lovingly shared with us all. Not a single person would disagree that when in Claire's shop, smiles were formed and memories were made. 3 people had to die for them to announce that they were being murdered. 3 whole people. Suppose for a moment that you don't believe me or my leaks. That you don't believe that this was all the doing of a wretched ghoul with sadistic tendencies. Is it not still strange that it took this long for a homicide investigation to be publicly launched? Each death took place inside one of the victims' homes, while their husbands were sleeping in the same bed as them. Are we meant to believe that a killer did their dirty work, and that the husbands just didn't notice? Seriously? These fucking rats in blue think you're all idiots. They think that you won't connect the dots. Don't let them treat you like clueless animals. Do not allow them to be evasive about what's truly happening. Morefolk police patrolling the streets in response to most recent death. The killing of Jackie Middleton, 37, has unsettled Morefolk to its very core. Her death is another in a series of murders, now that the deaths of Claire Summers, Sasha Baker, and Ellie Singleton have been found to be connected. Morefolk police have decided to patrol the streets at night in response to the recent development, and the town curfew has been lowered to 9 p.m. The safety of our town is a priority. We not only need to protect those of you living here, but find and prosecute whichever twisted individual is responsible for these crimes as soon as possible. We ask that you all cooperate with our curfew, and please, if you have any information that may be helpful to this case, contact us. Thank you. Sheriff Mackey explained when asked about his plan moving forward. When asked to comment on this tragedy, Jackie's husband Craig Middleton was quoted as saying, "There's not much for me to say at this time. The amount of hurt and devastation I'm going through can't be articulated. All I can say is that I hope our police force brings whoever did this to my family to justice." Furthermore, Kyle Summers, David Baker, and Barry Singleton requested to make a joint comment. The 3 men had also recently lost their loving wives, likely at the hands of the suspected killer involved in Jackie Middleton's murder. We've gotten together to support each other as of late. Things have been unimaginably hard to get through each day, but the condolences and support of all of you wonderful people have made it more manageable for us. We know we cannot change what happened, but we can and must address this problem before more lives are taken. Throughout these long, sleepless weeks, we've had the unequivocal support of the Morefolk Police Department. They have shown us great attention, care, and consideration. Most importantly, we know and trust that they will bring this murderer to justice. Please support and believe in them, because they're all doing what they can to fix this mess. Once again, we thank you for all the love and kindness you've given us. You all truly exemplify what it means to be wonderful neighbors, friends, and family. Jackie Middleton has always been an outgoing neighbor, working with Craig out of their small ice cream parlor on the nearby boardwalk. She'd often supply ice cream to the nearby business for office parties and other celebratory events. Though store-bought ice cream would do the trick in a pinch, there was always something special about her delicious desserts that she made with the utmost love. To Morefolk, Jackie Middleton truly was the cherry on the top. They aren't even trying to hide it, are they? Surely you all caught it as well. Surely the husbands who have gone without comment for so long all come together to give a statement. A statement with a takeaway message of trusting the police department. Want to know an interesting little tidbit of information? The author of all those newspaper clippings is the same person. Guess who it was? Does the name Phil Pratt ring a bell? Morefolk's beloved journalist, who happens to be married to Jamie Pratt. As in common knowledge, Jamie Pratt's maiden name is Jamie Mackey. These articles were written by the sheriff's son-in-law. I couldn't make this shit up. Still, I know what you're thinking. It doesn't matter who wrote those articles and what biases they have. That doesn't mean the contents of the text themselves aren't perfectly rational. Of course the husbands took a while to comment. They've been through so much trauma. Obviously, they all came forward together because they've got something in common to commiserate over. They're serving as each other's support system, right? Sure, it all sounds plausible at first. But the more you think about it, the more what I'm saying adds up. Remember, the husbands weren't allowed to stay at their homes because their houses became crime scenes. Plenty of neighbors and family members offered them places to stay, but do you know where they ended up? That's right. They ended up staying at the police station. Yeah, I know the reason given is that the police wanted to ensure the husbands were receiving attention to their mental health, but then why not have them stay at a hospital? Then there's the explanation that the police wanted them close by so they could aid the investigation. Still, is that something that would require them to eat, sleep, and drink at the station for almost all hours of the day? That doesn't add up, does it? I'll tell you the real reason that accounts for these abnormalities. The police were keeping the husbands there to monitor them, to ensure that they weren't freely spreading their stories, to prevent them from commenting on the situation until they could be fed a comment generated by the pigs themselves. You should also consider the fact that, despite these husbands having been in close proximity to their wives at the time of their killings, they were never once considered suspects in the case. What could possibly account for that, other than the fact that the cops knew that someone else, or something else, was responsible from the very beginning? Some of you won't ever believe me, and I acknowledge that. That doesn't take away from the fact that this whole debacle has been handled so unconventionally. We've been told that the police would keep us updated on their investigations, but what have they really given us? We've received no identifiable suspect, no autopsy report of the deceased victims, and the newspaper is more focused on selling the bullshit unify and support the police narrative than focusing on the particulars of the deaths themselves. Go ahead and tell me we're being kept in the dark for the sake of investigation confidentiality. Tell me I'm seeking to divide us and push some communist anti-police agenda in the midst of a community tragedy. Claim that I'm making mountains out of molehills. Here's all I have to say. Either you're with me, the people, and the truth, or you're going to be a mindless sheep, licking the boots of those keeping the real facts at bay. The time is coming to make a damn choice. Don't worry, I've got so much more to share. I'm not done exposing the hidden truths I found in the police files I cracked. I'm simply waiting for the most opportune time to release more of what I have. Be patient, my friends. It will be worth it. Trust me, after you see what's coming next, you will be as angry as I am. This monster terrorizing our town isn't going to stop at pregnant women and their unborn children. After all, it already has claimed more than just those sets of victims. You all might be aware that little Dennis Bowers went missing within the last week. Guess what? They're lying to you about what happened to him. All of it is connected, and I know just when and where to show you. The next time you hear from me, it'll be in a different medium. Something big is about to happen. I'm certain of it. Signing off, Jay. Hello everyone, Nature's Temper here, just reminding you that we have t-shirts. If you want to support and show your love for the channel, look in the description below. There you will also find a t-shirt design called Bring Back the Wolf. All proceeds of this design go directly to the Rewilding Institute, a charity that I fully support. Now enjoy the story, you monsters.